Sharon Cullen Art. Today I'm going to be doing a review, as you saw in the title of the video, and this is a quick unbagging. I did open this already to see what was inside, and I'm really happy to be showing you this today. I spoke with April from A Little Creative, who is a U.S. distributor for the Renesans watercolor paints. They're an extra fine watercolor made in Poland, almost entirely by hand. They're a big business and still do almost everything by hand except for maybe like bottling the tubes and, you know, that kind of thing. That's done by machine, but their mixing and everything is done by hand, which you don't see a lot anymore, but they are very particular about their paints, what they put in their pigment. Anyway, before I get into everything, let me just show you what I got here. I ordered this set of their watercolors, half pans. You guys know I'm not much of a half pan person, but I really wanted to try these out. And I will use half pans, but this is 2, 4, 6. This is a 24 color set. Has quite a range of colors, comes in the palette. These palettes are very unique because as you fill a palette and you add another palette, these palettes snap into the lid of the second palette so that they stack side by side, which I thought was very unique. You don't see that with other palettes. But I'm going to be swatching all of these colors here. I do have 24 very beautiful colors. Anyway, we're going to get into those in just a few minutes. I also got, she sent along some tubes, which was very nice of her. She asked me what colors I would like, and I said, you know, I thought about looking through the colors and choosing some really unique colors, and maybe I should have done that, but I thought, you know, it's always good to have the basics. I always tell you guys a warm and a cool of each color is good to have, so that's what I told her. Just give me a warm and cool of each primary. She sent me a burnt sienna also, it looks like. I think that's burnt sienna. She sent me some extra half pans, which was very nice. Let me just see what we got here. This one, yeah, burnt sienna. And then she sent me some other tubes. Transparent yellow, lemon yellow. These both look like cool colors, but I don't know. Transparent yellow might be warmer. Quinacridone red. And scarlet red, which would be the warmer one. Then we've got heliocerulean and ultramarine blue. Very, very nice colors. So I'm going to be trying these out too. So I'm going to swatch all these along with the 24 other ones. And to do that, I also received a little stencil. I believe she makes these stencils herself. They're very nice. If I can just get in here real quick. She says she makes them on her circuit machine, but they look like this. And they're great for making swatch charts for your colors in your palettes, all sorts of things that you can use these for. So I thank you, April, for sending all of this along to me. Before I go into the swatches and discussing more of the history of the paints, I just wanted to thank you guys, all of you, for the well wishes that you sent me over on Instagram and even some of you on YouTube. I am recovering. Today is my first day that I'm actually feeling well enough to sit up and do some things. I do have a concert today that I'm going to try to play, but I am still very short of breath. A lot of you already know, some of you may not have heard, I was diagnosed with pneumonia when my last video released, that big unboxing video. I had done that over a period of about a week. And then it sat, and then I edited it, and as I posted it, that's when I was diagnosed with the pneumonia. So it's been about a week now, and I am feeling better, but I realize my comeback is a lot slower this time. I think the pneumonia was a little bit worse this time. Actually, it's on this side. But anyway, I am feeling better. So thank you for the well wishes. I think it's going to take me a couple months to get back to my normal self again. And hopefully that's all it takes. So sometimes it can take up to a year to recover from. So hopefully not, because I have to get ready to move. But anyway, so I want to go ahead and swatch these colors. I have been dying to do this. They came when I was so sick, and I enjoyed opening the package, but I wanted to use them, and I just felt like, bleh, and I couldn't use them. And I thought, well, I've got to film it when I do use them. So they've been sitting here in my studio while I laid in my bedroom in bed. So anyway, excuse me. Anyway, let's go ahead and I'll turn the camera around. We'll start the swatches, and then I'm just going to kind of tell you a little bit more about the history of these paints. I decided to do a voiceover on this, so you're going to see my hands move a bit as I'm speaking to you here, but they're not going to match up, so I just wanted you to be aware of that. I wanted to tell you a little bit more about these paints. I'm going to go ahead and swatch the pans first, and what I'm showing you here are the labels that I removed. They have a 3-sided sticky label that wraps over the top, which is somewhat, it's nice because you can save those labels and place them on a swatch card so that you always know the names of your pans and which order they are in. So that's what I did, but it took me almost 45 minutes to remove those 24 labels. I started using my heat gun to try to soften the glue so that I can do this, but anyway, back to the paints. I will go ahead and post the colors below as I am swatching them, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about them. These are, like I said, they are a handmade paint, almost entirely handmade paints that are made in Poland, and the name is Renesans. They've been around for about 20 years, and I'm going to give you a little bit of history on that. You may have seen these reviewed over on Lindsay Weirick's channel or over on Creation CC. Most recently, I believe Steve Mitchell from Mind of Watercolor also did a review on these, and they're all very extensive. So you can get more information there. In fact, when Lindsay Weirick did her review over on the Frugal Crafter channel, she interviewed April Mathis, who is the distributor here in the U.S. for these colors. Now I'm going to go ahead and give you the history on these. It's a family-owned business. They've been around for only about 20 years, but this Italian man had married a woman from Poland, and while he was in Italy, he had been working for an Italian paint business and learned the craft of color mixing paints by hand and all of that. And when he returned to Poland with his wife and started his life there, he had been importing these paints from Italy, and that company ended up going out of business eventually. So he decided to go ahead and start his own company, and he started making these watercolor paints first in pans only. And then this year he started making tube paints as well. Like I said, they've been around for about 20 years. Now, fast forward a bit to April from A Little Creative. She has a channel here on YouTube called A Little Creative and an Etsy shop called A Little Creative, which I will link down below. She was on a vacation traveling to Poland, and she loved to try paints from all over the world, and she calls herself a collector, actually, which is funny, but she tries these paint brands. She's tried the major paint brands and some handmade brands. And when she got to Poland, she was in an art store and saw this pan set for Renesans, and she decided to try it. and she just fell in love with the paints. She absolutely loved them. Well, she found out that they don't distribute them in the U.S. So because she liked the paints so much, she contacted them, and she became the exclusive distributor for these Renesans paints in the U.S., which is really cool. And they're sold in her Etsy shop. The paints first came in half pans, like I said, and they have a color range of 54 colors. And then this year they started the tubes, and they have a range of 70 colors in the tubes. So you can get them in half pans or in tubes. I don't think they make full pans. I didn't see that anywhere. The binder in these paints are a gum arabic and acacia honey binder. If you're familiar with M. Graham paints here in the U.S., they use a honey binder, and there are other companies now that it's becoming more popular again. Core Watercolors, they make their paints with a honey binder as well. And the nice thing about a honey binder is that it provides a really high pigment load. You can basically just touch a damp brush to the pan, and it will load your brush significantly, and that's all you need. As you can see here, my brush is hardly wet, and I'm really dipping more than I need to because I'm not used to a acacia honey type of a binder. So it's something that I have to adjust for. Another thing about these paints is that they use both organic and inorganic pigments, just like all companies do, but they use cobalt and cadmiums from Poland. And so you'll find that many of their paints do contain cadmium or cobalt. These are not paints that are meant for young children because of that. Cobalt and cadmiums are carcinogenic, basically, but I don't think adults are busy putting their fingers in their mouths or eating their paintbrushes or eating their paints, so you don't have to worry about that. But keeping anything with cadmium or cobalt on your hands for long periods of time can become a health hazard as well. A lot of companies have kind of gotten away from cadmiums, especially. I know that Daniel Smith does not use cadmium. All of their colors are now hues. They don't use cadmiums at all, but they'll say cadmium hue, which means that there's no cadmium in them. Another very interesting fact about these colors is that of their 70 tube colors they offer, 50 of them are produced entirely using only one pigment. As you heard me talking about pigments in my recent video about mixing greens, I was talking a little bit about being careful when mixing colors if they are made with multiple pigments, like some colors can be made with 3 pigments. And then you want to mix them with another color that's made of 3 pigments and maybe a third one that might be made with 1 pigment. And before you know it, you've got 7 pigments mixing in for one color, and you could potentially end up with mud if you don't know what you're doing. So for those who are beginners with mixing, it is really nice with these colors that they have so many 1 pigment colors offered. It makes it easy to mix your colors without getting mud. So that is a really nice factor with these paints as well. Now, being a company that makes their paints almost entirely by hand, you would probably think, well, Sharon, what is the price point on these paints? This is another terrific thing. These paints are so affordable that, especially if you're starting out and you want to build up your palettes, this is an affordable way to do it. These are extra fine quality watercolors. They are artist quality. Again, do not let children use these, especially the cadmium and cobalt colors, but they're very inexpensive. A half pan sells on her site for, I'm looking at it here, $3.50 for a half pan. A tube of watercolor, let's see here, it says $6.50, but I thought there were some that were a little higher priced. Okay, yes, now that I've opened up this page here, it does say many of the paints are $6.50. There are some that are $7.50, like titanium yellow is $7.50. She does have several. The cadmium colors are more expensive, which is the same across the board for all companies. They're more expensive, and those are $8.25. As well as the cobalt. Those things have to be mined, cobalt and cadmium, so they're going to be more expensive. But $8.25 is cheap for a cobalt or cadmium color. They are 15 ml tubes, so these are not small tubes, but the price point is so reasonable. It's amazing to me, very amazing to me. Like I said, many of the colors are single pigment colors. When you go on to her Etsy page, if you look at the tube colors, if you go down the page and see the description and then hit more, it will pull up all of the colors that are available and their pigment numbers. So you can see what pigments are in each color. The pan set that I have here, the 24 color pan set, goes for $58 for 24 colors. That is very reasonable, including the palette. And if you want to buy just 12 colors, you can get the same size pan with 12 colors in it for $30. You guys, this is so cheap. I am so surprised that they're not more expensive. Now, that stencil that I received is $8, and she also sells empty half pans on her page. So you can get a set of 12 for $3, which is also inexpensive. If you go onto Amazon, I don't believe you can get them that cheap. So go check her out at Etsy, and her store is called A Little Creative, and again, I will link that down below. But then on to those other colors that I have here, I wanted to tell you a little bit more. This Helio cerulean that I am putting down, I believe I just put it down. Yeah, that was the one before this color. The Helio cerulean, I looked at the pigment. It's actually phthalo blue. So it was just a fancy name. And then that was ultramarine that I just put down. But anyway, you can see the vibrancy of all of these colors. These have great light fastness quality. In fact, they have a 6-number scale. They have Roman numeral 3, 2, 1, 0, 00, and 000. Their numeral 3 is a light fastness 8 of excellent, 7 or 2 is a light fastness of good, Roman numeral 1 or 6 is fair, then there's limited, then there's less limited, and then there's fugitive. So, but I don't think that I've received any that were less than a good rating. So I hope that you guys will go check out April Mathis's page, her Etsy store. And if you're looking for watercolors, these are an excellent brand to try. I am very thrilled with these paints. So go check them out. I'm going to be doing a painting with these very soon. And then you can see how they work that way. I didn't want to add it onto this video, though, because I figured it would go a little bit too long. So, in the meantime, everybody, remember, be courageous, paint with wild abandon, and most of all, be kind to each other. Take care.